Welcome everybody. Gio, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Pat. Welcome back, everyone, to day 4 of National Distance Learning Week. We are celebrating our 15th anniversary of this celebration of distance learning across the United States. So before we get going, please allow me to acknowledge and thank our sponsors. Thank you, D2L, Instructure, Logitech, NC Sarah, Poly, Tennessee State University, TDU, Verizon, and JDL Horizons, who are kindly providing to us the platform we are using to bring this conference to you live in English and in Spanish. Thank you also to our silver sponsors, EDU Alliance, Harmonize, IntelliBoard, Information Age Publishing, Nearpod, Yamaha, and Yellow Dig. And also many thanks to our bronze sponsors, AnatoMage, Arizona Telemedicine Program, Southwest Telehealth Resource Center, Enrollment Resources and Virtual Advisor, Proctorio, Video 360, Viopta, Virtual Care, and Xanadu. We also have USDLA friends. We thank you all for partnering with us. Many thanks to our friends and our sponsors for supporting this effort to celebrate distance learning in the United States. If you are not a USDLA member, please take a moment to join us today. In just a few, you will learn much more about how easy it is to become a member and all the benefits of being a member with the United States Distance Learning Association. Among those benefits, we will invite you to participate in our national conference, July 17th through 20th in Orlando next year. So come spend a little bit of July with us and learn and lead with us. Also, please attend our webinars and forums. We have learning opportunities just about every week. We hope to see you on our LinkedIn group. Please engage with us on that group and also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And if you would like to get involved in leading our association, please let us know and we'll guide you through the process of candidating for a position as a USDLA Board of Directors member. And last but not least, one of the privileges we have every year is to offer awards for achievement in distance learning. And in just a little while, when you'll visit us on USDLA.org, you will see our call for awards submission that is about to open. So now we are making a little programming modification. The speaker we were going to bring to you today at 3 p.m., Dr. Lisa Clark, unfortunately had to postpone her session rather. Please don't worry, we will bring this programming to you in an upcoming Friday webinar where Dr. Lisa Clark will talk to us about her research with leadership, particularly making leadership decisions in faculty training for online teaching and learning. But right now, what we would like to do is to help you get to know us a little bit better, help you to get to know the USDLA a little better. So we have a number of colleagues from the USDLA who are going to speak to you today. This is meant to be a very interactive session, an opportunity for you to ask us any questions to help you find your place within our association. To stay true to the leadership theme of this year's National Distance Learning Week conference, please allow me to get us started with a little overview of how the USDLA fits in the distance learning space, and more specifically, how the USDLA has been providing leadership in the distance learning space, particularly when it comes to quality efforts. So, to put things into perspective, I would like to show you how the creation of the USDLA in 1987 fits in with other events and developments in distance learning. Today, distance learning involves rapidly evolving technology, numerous bodies that provide accreditation, reciprocity. We just heard from NC-SARA about an hour ago. But where does all this come from? All the way back in 1728, we were in the phase of correspondence education, and we were just beginning to see correspondence evolve in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And to provide quality around those correspondence education efforts, in 1915, we saw the National University Extension be created to address quality matters. And notice the big gap from 1728 to 1915. News traveled slowly, as did developments evolve slowly at the beginning. After correspondence, we started seeing radio broadcasting in the 1900s, early 1900s. And by now, the evolution of quality efforts is much more rapid. In 1930, we see the National Advisory Council for Radio in Education, meant to promote radio broadcasting in distance learning and to establish and protect rights of educational broadcasting. 2 years later, we're beginning to see television be used to deliver instruction, and these televised courses continue to boom in the 60s and early 70s. Not long after that, we started seeing the Corporation for Public Broadcasting be formed to promote teleeducation. After television, we started seeing the emergence of computer-based instruction in the 1980s, shortly followed by the creation of the USDLA. We were formed to support the development, application, and legislation of distance learning. And from there, we start seeing a rapid expansion and evolution. The internet in the early 1990s opens up a whole new world of possibilities. We now deliver education online. We begin to experiment with internet mediating instruction all the way into the early to mid 1990s. And we're beginning to see for-profit institutions emerge and unfortunately sometimes perish quickly, but they were outlived by the first ever institution to offer online education, the University of Phoenix. Around that same time, we started seeing the integrated post-secondary education data systems, or IPEDS, start to collect statistical data about national transparency and accountability for colleges and universities, again, making sure that students are not just getting a piece of paper, but that they're actually getting an education that's going to serve them and prepare them for their career. Shortly after the creation of IPEDS, we saw the founding of the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, which is meant to oversee higher education online programs and contribute to the improvement of online education. 1999, the Sloan Consortium of Colleges and Universities was established to advance online education into the mainstream. They introduced the 5 pillars of online education and later became what we now know as the Online Learning Consortium. Moving from the internet into mobile learning in 2005, we also see around that same time the creation of the Maryland Online Consortium and their effort to create Quality Matters, the rubric that we all now know and use around the world. In 2008, we saw the evolution of MOOCs, massive open online courses, pioneered by platforms such as Coursera, edX, and Khan Academy. By 2006, most higher ed institutions had created a Chief Online Education Officer position to oversee online education initiatives and provide leadership into these digital initiatives. 2011, the OLC begins to launch the Quality Scorecard Suite, the first piece of which was the scorecard for the administration of online programs, and that suite has now evolved to a robust set of instruments. 2013, NC-SARA was formed to address quality and integrity matters, and then we are moving into the pandemic years. In light of COVID, the US Secretary of Education issued new distance learning regulations in 2020. And then in 2021, we saw a redefinition of distance learning to now specify that we need to have regular and substantive interaction. So throughout all these years, for as long as we've had computer-based instruction, the United States Distance Learning Association has been there to provide leadership. And we're so excited to have with us the president of the United States Distance Learning Association, Mr. Eric Jones. Eric, would you like to tell us a few words about the USDLA and the leadership that we provide in the space of distance learning today? Thank you.
Sure, absolutely, Gio, and thank you for that history. As you mentioned, since 1987, USDLA has been at the forefront of distance learning education. And as many of you know, obviously that the COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted education, worldwide. It's listed at over 150 countries, and 1.6 billion students have been affected by COVID. And it just allowed people to now more readily understand the importance and need for distance learning. It's not just a commodity, but it is a necessity when it comes to education, whether it be just learning from remotely or having some type of new hybrid type of learning model where some is remote and some is in person. It is the future, and we're so glad that we have been at the forefront for the past 35 years. Our experience is what I believe brings us to where we can educate the world, not just the United States, but globally, have an impact on people. And of course, with the dedicated volunteers, some of which that have joined me today, we're able to make that possible. As Gio mentioned, it's not just it's the people that make up the organization. So that's why we are always looking and extending the opportunity to welcome new members to come in to bring their expertise, their insight, because it's all of us that makes the journey possible, makes it a success. The one thing that I've learned about distance learning through these times is that it's about learning together, even though that we're apart. And, 21st century technology makes that all possible. And again, because it is the people, the educators, and the experts that come together and make this organization such a success that it has been. So with that, I'd like to introduce another key member of our team, our executive director, who could talk more about memberships and how you can be a part of this great team. Pat?
Thanks so much, Eric, and hi, everybody today. Glad you had the time to tune in. As Eric was talking about a little bit about the history, we've really transitioned from those early days of technology of, well, how do I set up a video conferencing session, and how do I do distance learning, and what is all this equipment, and what's an endpoint, and what's a bridge, and all the technology. And while that dominated our organization, that was our mission early on, to help folks become experts in that area for setting up their distance learning network, we've really transitioned more into helping folks understand how to leverage and use that technology now, right? The pedagogy part of it. How do folks teach in an environment that's not only remote, but it very well could be hybrid, for example, right? Where you have some folks inside your classroom, you have some folks that are remote. So that is a change, a big shift that we have seen. Just to get to know USDLA a little bit more, we are a volunteer organization, and we were established in 1987. We just had our 35th anniversary in Nashville, Tennessee. That was our national conference. For those of you who have not been to a national conference, we would love to see you in Orlando next year. So that is going to be one of the first things. I am going to share my screen really quick here. And Yeah, let's see a picture of us, but there we go. So, one of the first things I mentioned was we have our save the date. This is our website, by the way. I'm just kind of taking you on here, and there's our July 17th through July 20th. And as I mentioned, we are going to be in Orlando, Florida. It's a great time of year. You can come in, take in the conference. During the conference, we generally have a lot of keynote speakers that are there. We traditionally have anywhere from 40 to 60 breakout presentations. Presentations are anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes. We have a lot of fun activities that are going on. And again, you're in Orlando, which is fantastic. It is a great area to come in and extend your stay, whether you're going to do it on the front end or whether you're going to go and do it on the back end. We would really love to see you at the conference. This is not your typical 2,000, 5,000 person conference. These are very intimate conferences. Generally, we cap these at 250, which is what we did last year in Nashville. We last year had a huge virtual presence. So that has been another big shift for USDLA, is making sure that we can handle both the virtual part of it as well as the physical part of it. And last year we were approaching another 100 on the virtual side. And when you talk to folks at this conference, you'll find they like this intimacy. They go there specifically for interacting with like-minded individuals, learning from a group of experts in an audience that's broader than their own, right? You will meet lifelong friends, I will guarantee it. You'll have a great time. You'll learn a tremendous amount at this conference. Before I'm going to stop sharing my screen, I am going to talk about a few other things towards the end, but I wanted to introduce a couple of other board members. So as I mentioned, we are a volunteer association. These volunteers give a lot of time, personal time, but they have it in their hearts to make a difference in the distance learning space. It's how I got involved with USDLA more than 15 years ago on the technology side. And I have learned a tremendous amount from my colleagues and peers on this board over the course of that time. But right now, first one I'm going to introduce is Dr. Shana Garrett, who heads up our marketing and communications committee. We are made up of many different committees, of which marketing communications is one of the most important ones. And I'd like to turn it over to Shana for a few words on what her role is and how she put together this fantastic program we have here.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Pat. Appreciate it. It's good to see you. Eric, it's great to see you. It's great to see all of the board members and colleagues. So thank you so much for the opportunity. So I've known about USDLA for a really long time. And in fact, I've been in distance education for over 20 years. And one of the very first conferences that I can remember ever going to was USDLA. And there was some new technology that was happening in the classroom. And I remember going back and telling my team and telling my supervisors, why are we not attending this conference on a regular basis? There's so much to offer in terms of what's happening in the classroom, the support for faculty, instructional designers, the technology, the vendors. I mean, it was just phenomenal. And so I've been a fan ever since. USDLA offers a tremendous amount of resources and opportunities for folks, no matter what your title is within institutions, right? K through 12, higher ed, if you just work within the space, if you're providing services within the space, technology, things of that nature. So with USDLA, you have a tremendous resource of talent and expertise, right? So we have folks that are bringing you information from all different corners and perspectives of distance education. And much like you've heard several of my colleagues mention, with COVID, it really threw us into a different time and space where the time and attention really did come to distance education. And that's where the need is. So I just want to quickly share with you a couple of ways that you can be, involved with us. I apologize for the dog. Anytime anybody drives by, it's a level of excitement in this house, right? Much like everybody else. I know you've got that going on at your house too. So with USDLA, we have a little bit of something for everybody, right? If your preferred method of information is newsletters, we got you. We have a phenomenal newsletter that comes out on a weekly basis. It has really great information, whether it's technology, whether it's services, whether it's policy, whatever the case may be. If you like to be more engaged in social media, we have LinkedIn, we have Instagram, we have Twitter, and we have Facebook. If you're not into any of that, but you really like webinars, we've got you covered there too. We have Friday series of webinars, wonderful professional development opportunities. They don't cost a thing, right? That's something that we offer. If none of those are hitting the mark, we have podcasts, right? I think everybody loves a good podcast. We have a new podcast series, and I'm pointing right at Pat because he's a part of the podcast program that we're running. Download it, add it to your library, get it on the go. It's fantastic. So those are just a couple of ways that we're trying to embrace more within the community of distance education to say, hey, you know what? You're not alone. We're all here. We have resources. We have expertise to share. And that's one of the reasons why I joined as a member and participate within the group, is because this is a phenomenal organization that you can work in a collaborative nature. The networking is phenomenal. The partnership opportunities are huge, but you're also working with individuals that have shared insights, and they have expertise, and they have wisdom about anything and everything that relates to distance education. So Pat showed you the website. I'm going to put it in the chat as well. Take some time, really look into the website, look at the different events that we have. We have the annual conference. We have National Distance Learning Week. We have our webinar series, podcasts as well. So I'll put that in the link. So I'll put the link in the chat so that you can see that. And again, I just want to put a little bit of a plug that for many of us, and especially those that are working in education, you know that sometimes there's just not the budget and the funds for professional development. We can bring that to you, right? If it's not within one of the webinars, the podcast, or some of the events, it's also in the networking. It's about reaching out and saying, hey, I know we have this shared interest. What do you think about this? Or have you ever encountered? So just take some time, look at the website. If you have questions that you would like to ask any of us, or some of us, or one of us, I have to say this is probably one of the most open and receptive and approachable organizations. That drop us an email on, you know, a DM on Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever the case may be. Happy to help, get you information, get you connected, and just would look forward to networking with you. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Shana.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. You know, to dovetail a little bit more into what Shana was talking about, you know, so involvement, we are a very approachable board of directors. And just so you understand how the organization is set up, we have a membership, a paid membership base. Those are folks that can be anything from a student membership. We have an individual membership. We have a retired membership, for-profit, not-for-profit. We even have our chapter associated memberships. Our board is made up of approximately 20 individuals, professionals in the area, in the industry, and we have an advisory board. So the advisory board, there's really no limit to the number of folks that are on it. At any point in time, there's generally a dozen or more. And in many cases, that is a natural progression, right? Folks will get involved, will become a member, and that might either be before or after they go to the national conference. And then they'll say, hey, I want to get a little bit more involved, or I really want to make a difference. And a lot of times they'll get onto the advisory board and jump onto one of our committees. As I mentioned, Shana takes on communications and the marketing committees. But from there, we have an executive board, and folks, a lot of times after they've been on one of these committees, they end up chairing a committee, then they end up moving up onto the executive team. So it's a real nice migration. There's not pressure for you to have to move up. We have some folks that are very happy staying on our advisory board. We have folks that like to just be a member of a committee rather than chair it. But like anything in your life, the amount that you put into it will reflect what you get back out of it. Right? So if you really do want to make a difference, this is a fantastic organization. One of the other committees we have that's extremely important, partners and sponsors. Without them, we would have a hard time existing as a volunteer association. And we have some fantastic partners. You know, when we first kicked off, Geo was going through the list. And the nice thing that I love about the partners is that we have them everywhere from equipment manufacturers to folks that are learning management systems to folks that are providing software and instructional design, tools that you can use. But what I really love about partners and sponsors is my chair of partners and sponsors, Dr. Farah Banani, who is with us today. And she is absolutely my right-hand person for managing all these sponsorships and partnership relations. And Farah, would you say a few words about that, please?
Thank you so much, Pat. We make a good team. I cannot do my work without you. So thank you for the help. Good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure to be with all of you. I have been in the online environment for 22 years in the US. And if there's anything that COVID pandemic have taught all of us is education is a service. It doesn't matter where we are. It doesn't matter the location, and there's no wall. And this is basically the main goal, how the USDLA, even during its inception, beside what my colleague, all of them have mentioned in terms of what USDLA stands for, there's no limit to who we can reach and with whom we can work. I'm also in charge of the global partnership. So we work with companies and education entities from in other parts of the world. Again, there's no limit. It's a service. We're here to help and provide the service to all of you. We also provide training, professional development education. We also provide certification to 4-year and 2-year schools, should they choose to. We have a very selective criteria for that, and it's renewable every year. We also have a grant office. So anything, basically, I'm sharing with all of you, anything that you are, as the audience, listening to us, whatever we can do to help you, we are here for that. Yes, we do volunteer, but all of us on this screen and other colleagues who could not make it, we enjoy what we do. So please take advantage of that. We do also collaborate in terms of providing, beside what Dr. Garrett mentioned in her newsletter, we do a lot of reading. We do share a lot of best practice, a lot of articles. And again, the idea is, what can we do to help you? So please feel free to reach out, whether you're in the US or any audience from outside the US. Please check the website, do reach out to me or to Pat, and we'll be more than happy to help. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Farah. And as she said, we are a good team, and our whole board is a good team. We work really, really well together. We help each other out. And as I mentioned, folks move around. They start out in one area, and then they decide to make a difference, get a little bit more involved. Like my next board member that I'll introduce, Dr. Alexandra Salas. She was on the advisory board for a while, and not even that long, but she decided to make the jump and run for a board seat, which she won this year. And so she's one of our newest members onto the board. Extremely valuable background. And we had a meeting not too long ago, just a couple of weeks ago, with everybody together, some of the new folks that we have on the board. And I was talking about the need for public policy, right? USDLA has long been known for, setting the course, if you will, on distance learning and having some influence out there, right? Listening, being the ears, and then, the eyes for the industry, but then communicating that with our legislative branches within the US. So, Alexandra, I'm not putting you on the spot too much, but can you say a few words about your background and possibly what we might do on the public policy side?
Sure. Hello, everyone. So I'm Alexandra Salas, and it's a privilege to be here with all of you. So I started as an advisory board member, and I'm one of the newest board members now, and I'm delighted to be working with such an experienced team of individuals. And one of the reasons why I was drawn to USDLA is because it provides all of us with a community of practice. And we're all practitioners in our own right. And it sets an example and sets the tone that distance learning cuts across industries and disciplines. It's education for anyone who is interested in this modality. And I think the work of the USDLA is very important because it distinguishes itself as a group that tries to stay on top of issues, the cutting edge, is looking at trends, and is always looking to be resourceful and working with many different people across many different industries, serving a broad swath of demographics. And so it's not just higher ed, it's K through 12, and even beyond that, for folks who are going back to school looking to brush up their skills. So continuing education, I think it's the work that the USDLA provides is outstanding and very interesting, and everyone should be a part of it and experience it in some way, whether it's through the webinars or the conferences, just the membership, the newsletters, the podcast. There's many different types of opportunities. So on the public policy end, there's many different issues, and this is why we need your help. We need to hear your voices, and so that we could have broader conversations. But two of the areas that I believe are areas that we need to focus on are, of course, open education resources, because it will help students be able to go to further their education at a more affordable rate. And so there are many institutions who have been ahead of this for many years, working on creating Z degrees, Z courses. But I think that's not that's out of reach for some institutions. And so there are many different ways of going about it. There are organizations that focus on OER, but I believe that the work of the USDLA is to share more of that information with stakeholders to figure out ways to bring it up to DC and just reiterate and reinforce the importance of making education affordable, and having an investment in resources that could be accessible to more students will actually help that in that vein. And then the other issue is the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and that is very important too, because there are institutions who are ranking themselves, higher education institutions that are ranking themselves in terms of where they are in that dialogue, right, in terms of sustainability. And sustainability is a conversation that is somewhat grassroots in some circles, and then it's all this broader picture. And I think that part of our work would be to bridge that gap so that more people realize that they do have a say and they can make a contribution. And I think we can make our contribution in that space. So I'm very excited about working with this group and to speaking with more of you in the future. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Alexandra. That was well said. Well said. The influence that we can have, it's listening to our constituents, it's listening to our members, it's listening to our partners, and finding those common pain points and bringing those up as issues that Washington needs to address and needs to really think about. We talked about our members, and I mentioned a little bit briefly about the different membership levels and whatnot. And Shana also communicated some of the different member benefits that we have, one of which is a discount to the national distance or national conference. So, your membership, an individual membership is $125, and you end up getting $100 off of your national conference pass right off the bat. So your membership is like $25. And then from there, we have just a ton of members only resources. But one of the things that USDLA is reinvesting in is its members. and we are coming out with a new membership platform. So this is really going to be dedicated for member communication. We're going to use it as a portal for access to all the different assets that we create. We're going to use it to create and produce our events. We're going to use it to manage our chapters. So everybody who is a member will have a login to the portal, and they'll be able to go there and quickly go and access these different assets, chat with some of their constituents across the different, the different verticals out there. As Alexandra mentioned, we're not just in education. When you truly think about distance learning, now you've opened it up to training and corporate applications, and there's certainly the military aspect of it, and telehealth. We have a very large telehealth delegacy that is delicate, that's looking for constantly interacting with different folks in the telehealth and telemedicine arena. So we hope to get that launched in January. We've been working really hard behind the scenes to get all our data ported over. So look forward, tune in for that. What else did we have? This JDL Horizons. Everybody, you're watching this on one of our partners platforms, JDL Horizon. It's called the EduVision platform, and we do have a history of using our partners technology. JDL Horizon is a sponsor and is a partner of USDLA, and we like to put those products through the paces. They've been great to work with. As Gio mentioned early on, we're actually captioning this both in English and Spanish, which is fantastic. It automatically will record these sessions and make them available for future viewing on demand. Just a really nice platform. So it's JDL Horizons, and it's called the EduVision platform. If there's any interest, we can certainly put you in touch with the team there for a little more information. Call for proposals. I know, as we mentioned, our national conference, and we mentioned that we do have a lot of sessions, anywhere from 40 to 60 sessions, and we usually have anywhere from 100 to 150 proposals that come in, and we have a committee that goes through the proposals, and we make sure they align with the different categories that we usually define for the conference. So keep your eyes open for that. Call for proposals will probably open just a little bit after the first of the year. We're trying to get our platform in place in January and use that same platform for the call for proposals. So I would think sometime around February 1st is a good date to mark your calendar. And we would love to hear from you, much like we're providing some expertise into the industry. We'd love for you to come to our conference and present. And always love to have you in person, although we also have taken virtual presenters as well in the past. Gio, I know we're coming up at 3:40. Do you have some additional information that you'd like to share with our viewing audience today?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. One of the many things that I love about the distance learning, the United States Distance Learning Association, is the Distance Learning Journal, which we put out quarterly. Dr. Michael Simonson is our editor, and he has been providing leadership as editor of this journal for many, many years. As a member of the USDLA, you will be receiving this journal if you don't already get it. And with every edition, you will see a variety of articles, maybe like a half dozen articles. I find them very useful. A lot of them are part of the research that I published. They are timely articles that speak to all types of aspects of distance learning, from instructional design to instructional technology to policy. So if you don't already leverage this resource, please do. And I know we talked about membership, but I was hoping to show you how you can learn more about our different membership levels. So if you'd like to join us as a nonprofit organization, You will benefit from many different things, including this quarterly printed journal that I was mentioning, our e-news alerts, our quarterly newsletter, advocacy member discounts, and you could also join us individually as an individual member, as a student. Note that the student membership is very affordable, so you won't have to, take away money from your food budget or something else to continue to learn. You can still learn with us for a very affordable, at a very affordable cost. Also, if you are retired, we have a special membership tier for you. And if you'd like to join us as a member of a state chapter, there is a way for that as well. Speaking of state chapters, we have a number of state chapters under the umbrella of the United States Distance Learning Association. And this is where you can find more information about our state chapters. We have a very active state chapter in Florida, Ohio, Tennessee. And if you are looking to create a state chapter for your state, we have a toolkit for you to get started, where you can benefit from some model bylaws, some model articles. And if you have any questions about state chapters, we invite you to reach out to Dr. Rolando Garza, who is chair of our state chapters. So however you get involved with us, we welcome your participation, and there is something for everyone. And many of us come to the USDLA to take information. We attend the conference, we read the journal, we participate in a webinar, and we value the association so much that we then begin to get involved actively as members of the advisory committee, and often as members of the board of directors. So however you choose to get involved, we look forward to having you be an active part of the USDLA. Pat, if I could ask you to tell us a little bit about what's happening in Orlando next year.
Sure thing. Before I talk about Orlando, I know you mentioned the memberships again and the students. I just want to dive on that one real quick. That was a level that we put together several years ago, and it's a really important one because, get involved with distance learning as early as you can in your career. And, there might not be any students watching this right now or watching us live, but if you know students, you should communicate this to them. It looks great on your resume, right? It really does, that you have some familiarity with distance learning, because let's face it, it's everywhere today, okay? No matter what job you are going to go and seek out in the future after you graduate, it's a pretty good chance you're going to be involved in some level of distance learning. Even I have both of my sisters are both educators, and during the pandemic, you're not necessarily taught how to teach in a distance learning environment. One of my sisters said she went in one day and they said, grab your books, you're going home to teach for the next, several months until we know when this pandemic is over. So not a lot of runway, if you will. This is a great place to get involved and learn how to be an instructor in the world of distance learning, right? Not just simply just firing up a webcam and doing a distance learning or a video conferencing call, but some of the best practices, some pitfalls to avoid, and some of the things that you really want to do to make sure you capture your audience and can interact with them and whatnot. But back again in Orlando. We are narrowing it down. We are between 3 different hotels, and we're pretty unique, because again, we're not a very large association, so we're not renting out the Orange County Convention Center by any means, but we're too big for a lot of just hotels that we go to, because the hotels don't have the meeting space that we need. So last year we went to Nashville. and we happen to have a board member at Tennessee State University who was, she was able to let us use one of the facilities there. It was a fantastic venue, but a lot of the feedback that we got back from our attendees was that it's nice to be able to go to your room, relax a little bit in between sessions, kind of unwind a little bit if you had to. So we're back to that methodology. And like I said, we're going to be pretty close to all the attractions, right? You're going to be close to Disney. You're going to be close to SeaWorld. We're looking right along that I-Drive. All right. So, if you know Orlando, this is right along the same area where the Orange County Convention Center is. So once we finish with sessions, you're going to be able to go out, wander around a little bit. We usually do a couple of events at nighttime, group events. We also do our International Awards Dinner. That is something that we did not talk about. Let's chat a little bit there. So for a long time, we have put on our International Awards festivity, right? It's usually a dinner. And we do that at our national conference. So the call for awards, and I think Gio might have mentioned this in the beginning, will be coming up in December. So just about over a month from now. And we have a whole bunch of different categories for these distance learning awards, and they are across all the different constituencies. Some might be in higher education, might be K-12, telehealth. And we change the topics every year because we don't want them to be stale, and we don't want them to be just, they're easy to get, to go ahead and get. Again, we generally get anywhere up to 100 submissions. There's a small fee that you'll pay to submit for your institution or association for getting an award. But, we choose somewhere between a dozen and 15 awards in the different categories. But it's a fun night. We always have great food. We have great entertainment. And it's just a lot of, it's very prestigious to go and get an award for your association. Especially if you're making a difference in the distance learning industry. You might as well go and get recognized for it and share that information with others, right? So it's going to be a great time. Really hope that you can join us there. Registration will probably be opening up in the next 3 months. We generally have it kicked open in the late February, early March timeframe. And, that July timeframe of the 17th through the 20th, that's when we're going to have it. It seems to work well for everybody because it's most of the school year is over. And again, if you've got a family and you want to dovetail it into a family vacation, well, we're giving you a pretty great location to make that happen. So, Gio, I think we're about 12 minutes to the hour. Just want to take a look, see, do we have any other questions or anything else that we can answer for anybody?
We don't have any questions yet, but we welcome any questions. And we know that there's a little time lag between the Zoom and the live platform. So if we see any questions, we'll address them in real time. I want to take a moment and acknowledge that National Distance Learning Week is a team effort, and it took a village to put this conference together, from our sponsors to numerous members of the USDLA Board of Directors. Just a couple of names I want to shout out, although there are too many names to mention here, but I want to give a big shout out to Ms. Valerie Olenik, who has been instrumental in co-producing this conference. Valerie, if you're out there, thank you, thank you, thank you. Shayna has been such an amazing leader of our marketing and communication efforts. Thank you so much, Shayna. And I know that you need to go in just a few moments. Tomorrow, we're going to have 2 final sessions, one from my dear colleague, Dr. Matt Newlin, who's going to speak about something we don't often talk about, which is rural distance learning. He'll talk about leadership perspectives of rural distance learning. And then we will close the conference with a warm heart with Dr. Shayna Garrett's presentation about her pure heart leadership. So Shayna, would you please close us out with a word or two about pure heart leadership? Thank you.
Oh, wow. Oh, and let me give you some love. Thank you for all that you have done. I know what National Distance Learning Week means to you, Gio. It's all heart. So thank you for all that you do. That's right. Yeah. And thank you. Yeah, would love to see folks tomorrow. Let's talk about authentic leadership a little bit. Let's talk about how we can elevate what we do with the teams that we do it with, and that we really make a difference, because at the end of the day, it's about making a difference for those that are seeking an education. So please come by. Let's talk a little bit about leadership. Let's talk about the good, bad, and the ugly. Let's share some stories. And let's talk about something that we all absolutely love, and that's distance ed. So we'd love to see you.
Thank you so much, Shayna. And Pat,
bet.
thank you so much. I really appreciate you. You've been so extremely helpful and kind, and a pleasure to work with. Thank you.
I feel the same way with you, Gio. Thank you so much. I know this is a lot of work. I know this is your baby. You go above and beyond for the association, and it is much appreciated. You know, as we talk about leaders, you know, you two are leaders, right? You know, this board, this is again, this is a leadership focused week for National Distance Learning Week. And what a better way to become a leader in the industry than to get involved with this association. You know, I just can't say enough of how it has helped me in my early days of my career, from just networking and meeting folks, but then the satisfaction to give back as you know, you get closer. I'll call it the back nine, as you get a little grayer and as you get a little closer to retirement. You know, this is very satisfying for me personally, to be able to give back and to continue to share what I've learned over the years from my colleagues and from the industry. So get involved, reach out to one of us, and come on in. You know, let's have a good conversation. Come to our conference in Orlando in July. You will absolutely love it. I guarantee it.
Thank you so much, Pat. Again, many thanks to everyone. We look forward to seeing you back tomorrow for the final day of National Distance Learning Week. See you all back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. Take care, and thank you for joining us.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye, folks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.